This broadcast is entirely fictional. All names, characters, locations, and events are products of imagination, created only for storytelling and dramatic effect. Any similarities to real people, places, or situations are purely coincidental. The content is not meant to harm, insult, or single out any person, group, community, or belief. Listener discretion is advised. Drop a comment, tell me where you're listening from and what time it is for you. I don't know why it's so satisfying to read where people are watching from at 2:37 a.m., but it is. It's 2:06 a.m. I don't know what day it is anymore. The calendar on the wall still says June 29th, but the power went out before I could change it. Might be July now, or August. I don't know. The only thing I do know is it's hot. So hot it feels like the air is pushing down on your chest. 102 degrees outside, and it's the middle of the night. No wind, no sound. Just the hum of this old diesel backup rig burning what's left of the fuel I siphoned from a public works truck 2 nights ago. I'm Aaron Karteski. You're listening to what's left of 93.4 FM, broadcasting out of a gutted office space 3 blocks west of St. Charles Station in Marseille. The windows are blacked out. I've got wet towels shoved under the door to keep the heat and dust out. There's a broken ceiling fan that doesn't move anymore, just dangles like it gave up trying. The fluorescent lights flicker, then go out again. The only real light comes from the glow of the signal board and the red standby LED on the mic. And the heat, Christ, the heat, has baked everything to the point where even the plastic on the buttons feels soft. You sweat until there's nothing left to sweat. If you're hearing this, you're not alone. You're probably scared. Maybe you're hungry. Maybe you've already lost someone. Maybe you're like me, just trying to make sense of something no one prepared us for. I started this broadcast 7 days ago when the phone stopped working. No signal, no network, just static. Same day the gas station pumps went dead, and the military rolled in from Toulon with trucks and loudspeakers telling people to stay in their homes and wait for instructions. That's all they said. Wait for instructions. Then they vanished. I don't know exactly when it started. Some say it began down in the port after a shipment container came in from Algiers with people inside. Sick, starving, sunburnt, but silent. Customs wouldn't say anything. Then the gendarmes showed up in hazmat gear and sealed the dock. 4 hours later, smoke started rising from Warehouse 14. By morning, the fire was out, and the news said it was a minor containment issue. But that's when the heat started, and the silence. No sirens, no helicopters, just this slow collapse of everything. The trams stopped running by the second night. Hospital Sainte Marguerite started turning people away, not for injuries, but because they couldn't keep the power on long enough to run dialysis or keep the ventilators going. They gave out candles to some of the patients, like that would help. People were dying on the steps before anyone even knew something was wrong. On the 4th day, I saw a line of riot police set up on Rue de Rome, shields out, helmets on, nobody in front of them, just standing there like they were expecting something. Then, right around dusk, I heard it. This long, low rumble. Not thunder, not a train, but something deeper, almost like a growl. It came from the east, out past the old city walls. Everyone on the street stopped what they were doing. Even the birds went quiet. Then it passed, and we all pretended it hadn't happened. There's something wrong out there. I got a call yesterday from a woman named Emily in Aix-en-Provence. She found a wind-up radio and somehow caught my signal. She said the supermarkets were stripped clean in under 6 hours. Not just food, batteries, flashlights, pads of paper, anything with weight. People are using old clothes to filter water out of the fountains, but it's making them sick. She said a man collapsed right in front of her from heat stroke, and no one even stopped to check. Just walked around him. She didn't even know what day it was. No one does anymore. She told me that last night, just after midnight, all the streetlights turned on again, just for a few seconds. Then they flickered, buzzed, and went out. Then came this high-pitched whine, like a signal almost. Dogs started barking all over the city. Then nothing. Silence. She said she hasn't slept since. Emily, if you're still listening, stay near running water. Keep mirrors in your windows. And don't go out after midnight. I don't know why, but people who do, they don't come back the same. I've been hearing similar stories from the outskirts, Martigues, Arles, even Nimes. There's this pattern of heat, then silence, then lights flickering back on in short bursts like someone's testing the grid. But there's no one left to test it. And every time the lights come back, something bad follows. Last night I picked up a faint emergency transmission on channel 114 AM. It was garbled, but I swear I heard someone say, "Don't let them see you." I don't know who they are. I had a friend in the Navy, retired about 3 years ago. Jean-Claude. He used to handle radar systems on one of the old Mistral-class amphibious carriers. The last time I spoke to him was 5 days ago. He said something weird was happening off the coast. Said the sea was wrong, like the temperature was rising faster than it should be. Said it was too uniform, like something was heating it from below. He thought it might be some kind of geothermal event. He sounded scared. He said, "If you see condensation forming on the glass when there's no cold inside, you need to start preparing for a blackout. That's your first warning." I laughed it off at the time, but I've got condensation on the inside of the window right now, and there's no power running the AC. Just stale heat and this machine keeping my voice alive. If you're listening, here's what I know that might help. Boil your water if you can, even the bottled stuff. I've heard it's turning. Stay indoors during the day if you can. The heat out there isn't normal heat. It burns your skin faster than it should. I saw a man blister in under 10 minutes yesterday near Place Castellane. He was screaming about shadows being too long. Don't know what that means, but he was gone before I could reach him. If you're out of power, try to find an old crank radio or anything with shortwave access. I've heard snippets, real voices from other parts of the country. Toulouse is gone. Reims is under lockdown. There's been no word from Paris in 2 days. And Marseille, we're holding on by threads. There's been gunfire in the hills near La Trey. Not police, not gang fights either. Something organized. I climbed up on the roof this morning with binoculars and spotted smoke columns. Tight, black, controlled burns. Military, maybe. Or worse. I don't know what's happening, but I know it's not just a heat wave, and it's not just civil unrest. There's something moving behind the curtain. Something that started down at the docks and now has its claws buried deep in the power grid, the water lines, and whatever's left of the chain of command. If anyone out there knows more, if you're a scientist, a medic, anyone with real knowledge, get to a transmitter. Even a short burst might be enough. We need to piece this thing together before there's nothing left to piece. This is Aaron Karteski. It's 2:34 a.m., and the city is so quiet it hurts. I'm going to try to stay on the air for the next few hours. If you're out there, stay cool. Stay inside. And for God's sake, don't trust anything that knocks after dark. It's now 4:11 a.m. I haven't slept in over 30 hours. Not properly. Maybe 10 minutes here and there with one eye open and a crowbar on my chest. The heat's worse tonight. Even down in the stairwell where the air used to be cooler, the walls are sweating. I swear I can smell copper in the air, like blood, or maybe rust. But there's nothing metal down here except the antenna wiring. I just finished rerouting the patch panel. We lost secondary signal strength an hour ago, likely because the east side repeater melted. Literally melted. That one was sitting on top of a building off Boulevard Rabatau, running solar for emergencies. Someone must have overloaded the inverters, or maybe the panels cooked themselves. Doesn't matter now. Only 2 towers are working, and I've had to cut back to low bandwidth bursts every 20 minutes just to keep the generator cool. That means some of you will only catch pieces of this broadcast, but it's better than nothing. I don't know if anyone can hear me in Avignon or down by Nice. Maybe Toulon, if the ridgelines aren't blocking it. But if you're picking this up and it's skipping, try tuning between 93.4 and 93.7. The backup is on auto frequency hop. I got a call earlier from someone using an old satellite phone. Barely a signal, but it came through. His name was Jamal. He used to work at a telecom data center near La Valentine. He said they were trying to reroute signal loads after the regional satellites started dropping off. Whole network nodes going dark in clean patterns, like something was wiping them intentionally. Not just power loss, data vanishing. He said his last trace showed something moving up the coast, a blackout curve. Starting near Sète, then Béziers, then Montpellier. 27 minutes between each city losing communications. Not electricity, communications. He thinks it's not just a failure. He thinks it's targeting systems that transmit. If that's true, I don't know how long I'll be able to keep this going. I've got a half tank left on the generator and a cache of solar cells, but the heat's making them useless by mid-afternoon. They just shut off. Overload protection. I can't bypass it without risking fire. The weirdest part? The birds are gone. All of them. No pigeons, no gulls, no crows. Even the rats have vanished from the alleys. The only thing moving at night now are people who don't act like people anymore. There was a group outside earlier. 6 of them. Not looters. They weren't looking for food. They just stood there, quiet, in the street, as if waiting for something. One of them had a flashlight but didn't turn it on, just held it, upside down. Then, after maybe 10 minutes, they all turned at once and walked toward the hills. Not a word, not a sound. I'm not the only one seeing this. I just pulled a voicemail someone left on the station's emergency inbox. God bless whoever managed to keep the cloud servers alive this long. The caller's name was Mireille from Gap. She said her brother is a firefighter. Was. He was part of the crew that got called to the blaze outside Les Aigalades, the warehouse fire. She said he came back different. He doesn't sleep. Just sits on the edge of his bed and stares at the wall. She says he smells like plastic and salt water. Last night, she found him sitting in the bathtub, fully clothed, whispering a word she couldn't recognize. Something like Ferion or Faleron. Then he looked up at her and smiled like he didn't know who she was. Then he stopped talking altogether. She took a photo. She tried to send it, but the message corrupted on upload. All I got was a black image with faint white specks. Looked like mold. But then I brightened it and saw that the specks were moving. Concentric spirals. As if something was growing on the lens. I don't know what that means. I don't know what any of this means. There's another message, this one from Lion. A man named Arnaud. He's a train operator, or was, before SNCF froze all passenger routes. Said he was supposed to be transporting military vehicles southbound toward Marseille, but got redirected halfway. New orders. Return to origin. Empty. He didn't see a single soldier on the platform when he got back. Just containers. Sealed. No markings. One had a buzzing sound inside, like radio interference or maybe trapped electronics. He says he was ordered not to speak to anyone about what he saw. He told me anyway. He thinks something's inside the boxes, something living. He also said something else, something I can't stop thinking about. He said, "The heat isn't just the sun. It's something under us. It's pushing up from the ground like it's breathing." I haven't heard from him since. The old radio tower at Notre Dame de la Garde caught fire earlier today. A fire without flame. Just heat shimmer and smoke curling into the sky. A woman came running down the hill barefoot, screaming that her skin was peeling. She collapsed halfway down, and no one helped her. No one even got close. The silence after she hit the ground was worse than her scream. People have stopped responding, like their empathy burned out from the heat, or from fear. I don't know. They've started painting their windows black, whole apartment blocks, covering them from the inside like they're trying to hide from something. And that symbol, the 3 circles in a triangle, I've seen it sprayed on mailboxes, on old Citroens, even on children's backpacks. I don't know what it means, but I know it's new, and I know people are afraid of it. It's nearly 4:50 now. The backup battery on the secondary console just clicked over into warning. I'm going to switch to interval bursts for the next hour to conserve power. Before I do that, if anyone in Marseille hears this, listen closely. The Rue Paradis corridor is compromised. Do not use it to reach the port. There are checkpoints, but they're unmanned. Looks like barricades, but I saw people going through and not coming back. Something's wrong there. Instead, if you're trying to escape the city, take the underground sewer grates along Rue Breteuil. They're narrow, but the tunnels still run under the old tram lines and lead out near Pointe Rouge. Water's low and smells like hell, but it's safer than the surface. If you've got children, keep them cool. Damp cloth on the neck and armpits. Keep moving water on their skin. Dehydration sneaks up fast in this heat. If you're alone, stay by reflective surfaces, mirrors, water basins, anything with a clean echo. I don't know why, but whatever's out there, it avoids its own reflection. I'll be back on in 20 minutes if the diesel holds. This is Aaron Karteski. Marseille is boiling, the air is changing, and the night doesn't feel safe anymore. If you're hearing this, keep your lights off after midnight. Don't respond to voices unless you're sure they're real. And if you see the 3-circle mark on a door, don't go in. It's 6:12 a.m. The sun's coming up again, but it's not bringing any comfort. It's this dull, angry light that bleeds through the cloud cover like it's leaking. No shadows anymore, just a kind of orange haze that makes everything outside look sick. The pavement's already hot enough to melt shoe soles. My window thermometer says 41 degrees Celsius, and that's before noon. I haven't heard birdsong in days. The only noise now is the hiss of heat and the occasional echo of something moving too fast across the rooftops. My voice is weaker today. I feel like my lungs are getting heavier, like each breath has to fight through molasses. I don't know if it's the air, or if something's settling in my chest. Maybe it's just the exhaustion. We lost contact with the Nice repeater overnight. Signal dropped just after 2:30. The broadcast was clean right before it cut. Someone repeating coordinates, a call sign, then a woman's voice saying, "It's underground now." After that, just static. I tried pinging the relay but got nothing. The node must have gone dark. That makes 5 since yesterday. People are calling it the slow fire. It's not actual flame, not like a burning building. It's something else, something hotter. It moves low and wide, like a heat wave but dense, like you could touch it. It doesn't burn up, it burns through. Plastic, metal, skin. Anything soft enough just warps. A man came by the building earlier. I saw him from the stairwell. Didn't say anything. He was walking barefoot. No burns, no limping. Just slow, like he didn't feel pain. He stopped at the intersection and stared straight into the radio tower. Just stood there, hands at his sides. I ducked behind the wall. Didn't want to be seen. He didn't knock, didn't move. Just looked up, waited, then left. When I peeked again, he was gone. But the concrete where he stood was wet. Not from water, more like something oily. I still haven't gone out there. Someone sent me a voice message from Clermont-Ferrand. I'll play part of it when the static clears. The woman, her name was Sandrine, said her brother worked at the EDF control center for the region. 2 nights ago, he came home shaking. She said he was whispering that the reactors were running hot without reason. Not spiking, just warming. The coolant systems hadn't failed, but the ambient readings around the turbines were rising anyway. He said the geothermal temperature had increased by 7 degrees in 3 hours. That doesn't happen. He showed her a note scrawled on the back of a lab report. It just said, "Digging from below." They turned off their phones after that. Tried to flee west. She said they made it as far as Montluçon before roadblocks stopped them. Not police. She said these were people wearing uniforms without markings. Military posture, but no insignia. They asked them 3 questions. Name, city of origin, and blood type, then told them to turn around. She said she hasn't seen her brother since. I don't know what to do with that. I don't know what any of us are supposed to do with any of this. The supermarkets here are bare. I mean stripped, not just food. Wiring, batteries, light bulbs, rope, pencils, blankets, even books. Someone looted every copy of an old chemistry textbook from the lycée down the block. People are building things, desperate things. I saw a man welding together shopping carts in the middle of the street last night, turning them into some kind of cage. He had a car battery wired into the frame, and copper coils wrapped around the bottom like it was supposed to do something. When I asked him what it was, he said, "It blocks the signal." I didn't ask what signal. He was dead this morning, inside the cage. His skin was ash white, and the air smelled like spoiled eggs. I don't know what killed him. A woman from Cassis called in at 5:40. She said she'd been hiding in a wine cellar for 3 days with a group of 6. Only 4 were left. Said 2 of them wandered off after the 3rd day and started mimicking voices from the others, repeating their words back like a broken recording. Then they started scratching symbols into the wooden barrels, circles within circles. She said the cellar started dripping, not from above, from the walls. Thick, clear liquid that tasted like vinegar and blood. They moved to the crawl space under the stairs and haven't come out since. She thinks something's still down there. She didn't say what. She just kept repeating, "Don't let the barrels break." If you're hearing this from outside Marseille, if you're in the hills or out toward Aix, Listen carefully. The military isn't helping anymore. Not here. I watched a column of armored vehicles move up the A53 nights ago. Thought they were coming to secure the port. Thought maybe we'd finally get some order. They stopped at a barricade near the cathedral, turned and opened fire. On a building. No people. No threats. Just emptied clip after clip into a 4-story tenement with blackout curtains and a satellite dish on top. Then they doused it in something that hissed when it hit the walls and lit the whole thing up. No one tried to escape. I watched the flames from the roof. The heat was so intense I could feel it through my boots. I thought I heard something from inside. A voice, maybe. Or a song. It sounded like a lullaby. Or maybe it was just the radio melting. I haven't been up there since. Someone's transmitting false broadcasts on 100.5 FM. I caught one just after midnight. A woman's voice, soft, clean, American accent saying, "If you can hear this, you are safe. Evacuation is available at Gare de Marseille Saint-Charles. Proceed on foot. Do not bring weapons. Medical clearance required. Children will be prioritized." It looped every 42 seconds. Saint-Charles is gone. I saw it myself. There's no rail service, no personnel, just smoke and shattered glass and an unmarked van full of cables and dead terminals. That voice? It's bait. I don't know who's sending it, but it's not for us. If you're still in Marseille, if you're still alive, I want to say this plainly. Do not trust digital voices. If it's clean, calm, or too clear, it's not real. Real broadcasts sound like this, like sweat and static and breath, like someone who hasn't slept and is trying to tell you the truth with the last working mic in the city. That's all I've got right now. The generator's kicking again. Feels like it's coughing. I've got one full jerry can left and half a bottle of water. My mouth tastes like dust and regret. I'll check back in after sunrise if the relay holds. The air's changing. The city's dying. But if you're hearing this, then we're not alone. Not yet. This is Aaron Karteski, 93.4 FM, Marseille's last light. Don't open the door unless you hear your own voice behind it. It's 6:12 a.m. The sun's coming up again, but it's not bringing any comfort. It's this dull, angry light that bleeds through the cloud cover like it's leaking. No shadows anymore, just a kind of orange haze that makes everything outside look sick. The pavement's already hot enough to melt shoe soles. My window thermometer says 41 degrees Celsius, and that's before noon. I haven't heard birdsong in days. The only noise now is the hiss of heat and the occasional echo of something moving too fast across the rooftops. My voice is weaker today. I feel like my lungs are getting heavier, like each breath has to fight through molasses. I don't know if it's the air or if something's settling in my chest. Maybe it's just the exhaustion. We lost contact with the Nice repeater overnight. Signal dropped just after 2:30. The broadcast was clean right before it cut. Someone repeating coordinates, a call sign, then a woman's voice saying, "It's underground now." After that, just static. I tried pinging the relay but got nothing. The node must have gone dark. That makes 5 since yesterday. People are calling it the slow fire. It's not actual flame, not like a burning building. It's something else, something hotter. It moves low and wide, like a heat wave but dense, like you could touch it. It doesn't burn up, it burns through. Plastic, metal, skin, anything soft enough just warps. A man came by the building earlier. I saw him from the stairwell. Didn't say anything. He was walking barefoot. No burns, no limping. Just slow, like he didn't feel pain. He stopped at the intersection and stared straight into the radio tower. Just stood there, hands at his sides. I ducked behind the wall, didn't want to be seen. He didn't knock, didn't move, just looked up, waited, then left. When I peeked again, he was gone. But the concrete where he stood was wet, not from water, more like something oily. I still haven't gone out there. Someone sent me a voice message from Clermont-Ferrand. I'll play part of it when the static clears. The woman, her name was Sandrine, said her brother worked at the EDF control center for the region. 2 nights ago, he came home shaking. She said he was whispering that the reactors were running hot without reason. Not spiking, just warming. The coolant systems hadn't failed, but the ambient readings around the turbines were rising anyway. He said the geothermal temperature had increased by 7 degrees in 3 hours. That doesn't happen. He showed her a note scrawled on the back of a lab report. It just said, "Digging from below." They turned off their phones after that. Tried to flee west. She said they made it as far as Montluçon before roadblocks stopped them. Not police. She said these were people wearing uniforms without markings. Military posture, but no insignia. They asked them 3 questions: name, city of origin, and blood type. Then told them to turn around. She said she hasn't seen her brother since. I don't know what to do with that. I don't know what any of us are supposed to do with any of this. The supermarkets here are bare. I mean stripped. Not just food. Wiring, batteries, light bulbs, rope, pencils, blankets, even books. Someone looted every copy of an old chemistry textbook from the lycée down the block. People are building things. Desperate things. I saw a man welding together shopping carts in the middle of the street last night, turning them into some kind of cage. He had a car battery wired into the frame and copper coils wrapped around the bottom like it was supposed to do something. When I asked him what it was, he said, "It blocks the signal." I didn't ask what signal. He was dead this morning. Inside the cage, his skin was ash white, and the air smelled like spoiled eggs. I don't know what killed him. A woman from Cassis called in at 5:40. She said she'd been hiding in a wine cellar for 3 days with a group of 6. Only 4 were left. Said 2 of them wandered off after the 3rd day and started mimicking voices from the others, repeating their words back like a broken recording. Then they started scratching symbols into the wooden barrels, circles within circles. She said the cellar started dripping, not from above, from the walls. Thick, clear liquid that tasted like vinegar and blood. They moved to the crawl space under the stairs and haven't come out since. She thinks something's still down there. She didn't say what. She just kept repeating, "Don't let the barrels break." If you're hearing this from outside Marseille, if you're in the hills or out toward Aix, listen carefully. The military isn't helping anymore. Not here. I watched a column of armored vehicles move up the A53 nights ago. Thought they were coming to secure the port. Thought maybe we'd finally get some order. They stopped at a barricade near the cathedral, turned, and opened fire. On a building. No people. No threats. Just emptied clip after clip into a 4-story tenement with blackout curtains and a satellite dish on top. Then they doused it in something that hissed when it hit the walls and lit the whole thing up. No one tried to escape. I watched the flames from the roof. The heat was so intense I could feel it through my boots. I thought I heard something from inside. A voice, maybe? Or a song. It sounded like a lullaby. Or maybe it was just the radio melting. I haven't been up there since. Someone's transmitting false broadcasts on 100.5 FM. I caught one just after midnight. A woman's voice, soft, clean, American accent saying, "If you can hear this, you are safe. Evacuation is available at Gare de Marseille Saint-Charles. Proceed on foot. Do not bring weapons. Medical clearance required. Children will be prioritized." It looped every 42 seconds. Saint-Charles is gone. I saw it myself. There's no rail service, no personnel, just smoke and shattered glass and an unmarked van full of cables and dead terminals. That voice, it's bait. I don't know who's sending it, but it's not for us. If you're still in Marseille, if you're still alive, I want to say this plainly. Do not trust digital voices. If it's clean, calm, or too clear, it's not real. Real broadcasts sound like this, like sweat and static and breath, like someone who hasn't slept and is trying to tell you the truth with the last working mic in the city. That's all I've got right now. The generator's kicking again. Feels like it's coughing. I've got one full jerry can left and half a bottle of water. My mouth tastes like dust and regret. I'll check back in after sunrise if the relay holds. The air's changing, the city's dying. But if you're hearing this, then we're not alone. Not yet. This is Aaron Karteski, 93.4 FM, Marseille's last light. Don't open the door unless you hear your own voice behind it. It's 7:37 a.m. The sun is up now, though up doesn't feel like the right word anymore. It just hangs there, a flat white disk behind the haze, like a hole burned in the sky. It doesn't cast shadows. It just presses heat against the buildings until the windows bend slightly and the pavement goes soft under your feet. The city feels stretched thin, like it's about to tear. I can hear something now, low, constant, like the rumble of a truck idling. But I know there's no truck. It's coming from underground. I thought I imagined it at first, but when I pressed my ear to the floor, I could feel it too. A thrum, like pressure building, or something moving. I haven't eaten since yesterday. Not because I'm out of food, not yet. I just don't feel hungry anymore. Not in the way that makes sense. It's like my body knows something is wrong, and digestion would be a waste of energy. The bottled water I've been using has started to taste like tin. I boiled a pot last night and let it cool. Still bitter. Still wrong. I'm starting to think it's not just contamination. Something deeper. Something changing from the inside out. I got a shortwave message last hour from a technician holed up near Digne-les-Bains. He didn't give a name, just called himself Milo. He said his group had intercepted data logs from a shuttered observatory outside Sisteron. Infrared scans, thermal anomalies, all tied to geological activity under the Mediterranean basin. He said it started subtly. Thermal pulses beneath the seafloor, then increased frequency, always in clusters of 3. He believes something is growing beneath us, something that's been dormant and is now expanding outward like a root system. He used the word vascular, not tectonic. Vascular. He thinks the heat, the grid failures, the behavior changes, they're all symptoms, not causes. Before the signal dropped, he said, "It's not a virus. It's a response." I don't know what that means, but it fits with what I've been seeing. The military presence is thinning out. Vehicles are being abandoned, mostly near the edges of the city. I passed a Humvee on Avenue du Prado yesterday afternoon. Doors wide open, engine off, windshield smashed in. Inside were ration packs, an old field radio, and a cracked photo of a young girl smiling at the beach. No blood, no sign of struggle, just empty. But the worst part? Someone had scratched a message into the metal door with a multi-tool. We were told to go quiet. Now we understand. I don't know what they meant by that, but I've seen more and more of those kinds of notes. Not graffiti, not panic, just resignation. Like they saw what was coming and decided not to fight. I had a call come through earlier from a man who only identified himself as Theo. He's been traveling on foot with his sister for the last 5 days, trying to make it from AORLD to Marseille. He said they were staying off the roads, cutting through orchards and irrigation ditches. Last night, they tried to take shelter in an abandoned nursery school on the outskirts of Aubagne. He said it was quiet. Too quiet. No birds, no wind. Just that thick, pressing heat. Inside, it was worse. The air was sour, and the chalkboards were all covered in the same 3 words, repeated again and again in childlike handwriting. We hear it. He doesn't know what that means. Neither do I. But he swears the building was sealed. The windows weren't broken, and the doors hadn't been forced. He thinks someone wrote them after the school was abandoned. Or maybe not someone. Theo said he and his sister left before sunset. He warned me not to stay in places with high ceilings. Said the air behaves strangely there. Like it waits. I believe him. Another update. This one from a young woman named Leia, calling from inside what used to be a carrefour in Le Pen. She and a few others have been living there since the second blackout. They've converted the walk-in freezer into a sleeping area because it's one of the only places that still holds cold for more than an hour. No power, just insulation. She said the group had been fine until one of the men, a former teacher named Emile, started drawing symbols on the walls with condensation from the freezer door. Circles again. Triangles. Lines that seemed random at first, until they matched patterns they'd seen burned into the shelves upstairs. Leia said Emile hasn't spoken in 2 days. He just sits near the meat counter, drawing with his finger in dust. She's scared to confront him. Scared he's hearing something no one else can. She asked me if I think it's psychological, if people are just breaking down from heat, stress, fear. I didn't know what to tell her. I used to believe in rational explanations. I really did. I thought everything had a code behind it, a cause and effect, a system. But I can't explain what I've seen the past 6 days. And if I'm honest, part of me doesn't want to try anymore. It's like if I put it into words, it becomes real. And I don't know if I'm ready for that. If you're still out there, still sane, still yourself, I've got a few things you need to know. 1. Stay away from mirrors that fog up without touching. That's not condensation. It's reaction. It's trying to pull a shape from the other side. Don't let it finish. 2. When the lights flicker, count the pulses. If they flash 3 times and stop, you're fine. If it flashes 4 or more, leave. Doesn't matter what time it is. Just go. 3. If you hear someone you know calling your name from outside, ask them the last thing they said to you. If they get it wrong, they're not who you remember. Don't open the door. I know this sounds paranoid. I know how it sounds. But I've gotten over 60 messages in the past 24 hours describing these same patterns, the same signs. And I'd rather sound crazy than stay quiet and let people walk into something they don't understand. I've set up an emergency beacon at 92.9 FM, just static pulses, on loop. If you find yourself lost and need to orient, turn to that frequency. If you hear anything other than the pulse, move in the opposite direction. This morning, someone hijacked that signal for about 30 seconds, replaced the pulses with a whisper. The only word I could make out was, "March." That's French for walk. It was followed by what sounded like wet footsteps. We're not alone here. Not anymore. The light's shifting again. The color's off. The shadows have stopped behaving. I need to rest. I need to get this diesel to cool before the batteries blow. If you're hearing this, keep broadcasting. Keep your voice alive. Even if no one answers. Even if you think you're the last one. You're not. This is Aaron Karteski, 93.4 FM, Marseille. Still here. Still human. Still resisting. It's 9:09 a.m. The generator choked twice before starting this time. I think the fuel's been contaminated. It smells sharp now, like melted plastic and lemon. I had to filter the intake with a pair of socks soaked in bottled vinegar. It worked for now, but I've got maybe a day, 2 if I ration the load. After that, we go dark. I'm sitting here in what used to be a break room. There's a vending machine in the corner with one remaining chocolate bar trapped behind a cracked panel. I've thought about breaking the glass, but I don't know if I have the energy, or if it would even matter. What used to be comforting, sugar, snacks, noise, feels like a different lifetime. The streets outside have changed, not in layout, but in sound. There's less of it. No cars, no shouting, no city hum, just windless heat and the occasional shift in building frames, as if the steel itself is starting to warp. That old hotel across the street? The windows have begun to sag inward. Not crack, sag, like the glass is slowly turning to rubber. I got another call, from someone near Aubagne again. This time it was a boy. His voice was thin, like he'd been whispering for too long. Said his name was Mattis. I don't think he was older than 12. He found a 2-way radio at a checkpoint. Said it was still warm when he picked it up. He's hiding in a service tunnel beneath an abandoned shopping center. The name of the store doesn't matter. It's been stripped like the rest. Mattis said there are things moving through the shelves now. Not people, shapes. He says they don't walk. They lean, like they're listening for something. He hasn't eaten since Friday, but he's not hungry anymore. Just tired. He asked if the sun's broken. I didn't know how to answer. I want to talk about the military, about what's happening behind the uniforms. We got word, unconfirmed but repeated enough times to be worth saying, that a detachment of the 1st Foreign Regiment, the Légion Étrangère, has broken rank. Not disappeared. Broken rank, meaning they're still out there, still in formation, but not following Central Command. They're forming their own perimeter near the outskirts of Marseille. No insignia, no call signs. Just one repeating message on encrypted shortwave. Containment has failed. We are the firewall now. That's not language the military uses lightly. That's not about protests or civil unrest or even terrorism. That's something else. Something that moves too fast to track and too slow to shoot. The few units that remain near Vieux-Port are just patrolling in loops. Same routes, same times. Almost like they're following a pattern they can't break. I watched a squad march past the same storefront 4 times yesterday, even though the road was blocked. They didn't stop. Just turned, walked, turned, walked. No one talked. Not to each other. Not to civilians. One of them had blood on the back of his boots. No limp. The station's rooftop camera is dead, but I still check it out of habit. Maybe I just want to feel like something's still watching. I don't think I've said this out loud yet, but I'll say it now. I think the people being changed, they're not dying. Not really. I think something is replacing them. Not overnight, not in a flash. Slowly. Bit by bit. Like wet paper peeling away from a wall, revealing something painted underneath that was always there. And I think we're helping it. Every screen we stare at, every transmission we repeat without checking, every drop of unboiled water we drink, every shortcut we take because we're tired. It's learning us. Yesterday, someone jammed my broadcast frequency for 2 full minutes. I couldn't override it. What came through wasn't language, just tones, fast, rhythmic pulses that got faster the longer I listened. I swear it was syncing with my heartbeat. I had to pull the headphones off. My ears rang for a full hour after. I checked the station logs. It came from inside the city, maybe even inside this arrondissement, which means someone here is still broadcasting. But it's not for us. If you hear anything like that, rhythms, tones, anything that makes your head feel too tight, shut it off. It's not a signal. It's a seed. Someone from Martigues left a message yesterday, buried in the static. A man named Fabien. He said his wife went missing 2 nights ago. Just walked out while he was asleep. Took nothing. Left the door open. He followed her footprints in the dirt. They led to a bus stop on a rural road. There were no tire marks, no other prints, just hers. And at the end, the trail stops, clean, like she dissolved. I didn't know what to tell him. I still don't. But I told him to keep talking, keep recording, keep documenting every moment, even if it doesn't make sense, even if it feels insane. Because if we don't tell the story, we're going to forget we were ever part of it. I think that's the real danger here. Not just death, or heat, or collapse. It's erasure. People disappearing so completely that the world forgets they were here at all. If you're out there listening, I want you to do something for me. Write your name somewhere. On a wall. In a notebook. On your hand. Say it out loud every morning. Remind yourself that you're real. Because I'm starting to forget the faces of people I knew my whole life. And I think that's exactly what this thing wants. I've got to shut down the broadcast loop for a bit. The fans are starting to spark. If I lose cooling, the console could melt. I'll be back once the sun shifts. Stay low. Stay away from smooth walls, especially ones that don't reflect light right. And for God's sake, if the shadows are wrong, don't move. This is Aaron Karteski, still here, still human. Marseille is not safe, but Marseille remembers. It's 10:46 a.m. The heat's finally crested 44 degrees Celsius. I can hear the tar outside bubbling. I threw a plastic fork out the window earlier just to see what would happen. It curled up on itself before it hit the pavement. Just folded like it gave up halfway down. That's kind of how I feel, if I'm honest. The silence has changed. It's not just quiet now. It's dense. The kind of silence that presses against your skin. You feel it in your teeth, like a storm before lightning, except the clouds never break. They just sit there, flat and unmoving. I haven't seen real wind in 3 days, not even a breeze. I tried stepping outside an hour ago, just to feel something different. Lasted maybe 60 seconds. The sun burned the back of my neck like a spotlight, not hot like summer, hot like radiation. I came back in, checked my skin, and I swear to you, it wasn't red, it was gray. There's something wrong with the light. I don't know how else to say that. It feels wrong. Like it's coming through the wrong filter. Like it's not sunlight anymore. The water's almost gone. I've been using a filtration rig made from an old espresso machine and some charcoal from the roof garden, but it only buys me a few more hours a day. I'm going to have to leave soon. I don't want to, but I can't broadcast much longer from here, not with the generator burning through filters and the fans losing power. Before I go silent, I want to document what I've learned. There's something living under this city. That's not paranoia. That's not metaphor. I've spoken to engineers, municipal workers, emergency medics, hell, even a violinist who used to busk in the metro tunnels, and they all say the same thing. Something started moving under Marseille 6 days ago. It started slow, just vibrations. Then came the breaches, sinkholes, collapses, sudden bursts of methane from places that shouldn't have had any gas at all. Then the heat. Then the behavior changes. Then the silence. They're connected. I don't know how yet, but they are. There's a pattern to the breakdowns, starting from the ports, moving inland, always in concentric arcs, like something pushing outward in pulses, expanding through pressure points. Infrastructure collapses follow the same rhythm. I got confirmation this morning from a naval contact in Toulon, someone I've trusted since long before any of this started. He says the entire Mediterranean fleet has been pulled back. No explanation. Just orders. Abandon outer docks. Do not engage. Do not investigate signal anomalies. He told me, we're not retreating. We're being told to stand down. What are they trying to avoid? I asked him if this was chemical or biological. He said no. His exact words were, "It's not a contagion, it's a conversion." I asked what that meant. He went silent for 20 seconds. Then he said, "They're not trying to kill us. They're trying to overwrite us." Then he hung up. I haven't heard from him since. I don't know who they are. I don't know if it's a they at all. But something is writing over us. People, infrastructure, language, sound. It's all being bent. I caught a voice on the emergency broadcast band this morning. It was clear at first, then drifted. Mid-sentence, it switched languages, French to Russian to something I couldn't place. Almost like clicking, like insect legs scraping against steel. Then it looped back and repeated itself in my own voice. It said, "Aaron, stop resisting." I shut the radio off and vomited into the sink. A few minutes ago, I heard someone running in the hallway outside the studio. Just one person. Fast. Barefoot. I heard their heels strike the tile, then the crunch of glass. They didn't scream. They didn't knock. They stopped in front of the door and just breathed. Deep, slow, rhythmic breaths, like someone preparing to sing. I didn't move, didn't breathe back. After a minute, they walked away. I don't know if I imagined it. I don't think I did. The doorknob was hot afterward. There's an update from the Western District. A man named Clement sent a written note through an analog fax line we rigged last year for fun. We thought it would be a quirky thing for the station to have. Send your song requests via fax. Now it might be the only thing still working reliably. Clement says his building is empty. No evacuation orders were given. No gunfire. No screaming. Just one night, everyone was gone. Doors left open. Dishes still in the sink. Showers running. Lights on. He checked 23 apartments. All of them. No blood, no struggle, no signs of forced entry. Just absence. He tried to leave. He got to the street before he saw them. He wrote, "They weren't standing. They were leaning, and the air behind them shimmered like hot oil. He's hiding now in a janitor's closet on the second floor. He says the closet smells like bleach and old meat. He doesn't know how long the signal will hold, but he faxed me a drawing. I've pinned it up next to the transmitter board. It's the same shape, 3 circles inside a triangle. I've seen that everywhere lately. Spray painted, carved, drawn in condensation. Sometimes small, sometimes so big it covers an entire rooftop. No one claims it. No one remembers painting it. But it keeps showing up, like it's always been there. A woman from Lyon called me last night, Elise. She says she remembers that symbol from her childhood. She grew up near an old monastery that burned down in the 1980s. Said the stone arch over the gate had the same carving. She says the priests went mad. Claimed the stars were speaking in light. That they were being prepared for rejoining. No one believed them. Then the monastery burned, and the symbol faded into local ghost stories. But she remembers. I asked her what it meant. She said, "It's a map. Not of a place, of a change." Then the line cut out. This isn't about politics anymore. This isn't about protests or blackouts or a virus. This is something else, something deeper, older, a slow awakening under our feet. France isn't just burning. It's becoming something else, and I don't know how long I can keep sending this signal. But I will. As long as there's heat in these wires, I will. If you're listening, keep your lights off after sundown. Keep something cold pressed against your neck, even if it's just a rock. And don't follow voices into stairwells, no matter how familiar they sound. If they wanted to help, they wouldn't be whispering. This is Aaron Karteski, 93.4 FM. Broadcast Signal Alpha. Marseille, France. Still human, still resisting. It's 12:23 p.m. The walls are starting to sweat. I don't mean condensation. I mean the paint is sweating. There's this sticky film oozing out between the seams like glue that never dried. It smells like ammonia and seawater. My hands keep sticking to the console. I've wrapped them in bandages to keep from tearing skin. There's a pressure building inside the room. You know how it feels just before a thunderstorm? That tension in the chest? It's like that, but worse. Constant. Like being deep underwater without ever getting wet. I've sealed the door with old soundproofing foam and kitchen tape. It won't stop heat, but maybe it'll block the whatever it is that comes with it. Whatever hums in the walls. The hum started an hour ago. Low, pulsing, not mechanical. It's got rhythm. It syncs with your heart if you sit too close to the wall. I moved to the hallway once I noticed it. Still broadcasting, just using the auxiliary port. If this rig melts, it's over. I just got a short message from someone near Nimes. A doctor named Alaric said he's been treating survivors for symptoms that don't make sense. Burns with no source, full body inflammation without infection, pupils dilating in total darkness. But the one thing all the patients say before they lose coherence? It's beneath us. He says the neurological scans he ran show signs of external patterning, like something was writing new information into the brain, layering it over top of memory and language, like etching. He says the structures don't match any known pattern. Not tumors, not lesions, not trauma. Just something foreign. He wanted to bring his team down to Marseille. I told him not to. I told him it was already too late here. If you're listening, Alaric, stay put. Study it from afar. If you cross into the southern perimeter, you might not come back. No one does anymore. About half an hour ago, a boy, maybe 10 years old, walked through the intersection outside, alone, wearing pajamas, holding a garden rake like a staff. He wasn't crying, wasn't searching. He was mouthing something. His lips were moving, but there was no sound. I tried to call to him, tapped the glass. He didn't look up, just kept walking toward the east, toward the docks. When he passed the old cinema, the power flickered on for exactly 1 second, just long enough to light up the marquee. The letters rearranged themselves. They now read, "Reception begins." I don't know what that means, but the lights died right after. I'm hearing rumors now from the Garlaban range, survivors setting up relay fires on ridges, using broken mirrors to send light pulses, signals. They've abandoned technology. They say it's infected, not with code, with intent. One of them, man named Benoit, sent me a note by courier 3 days ago. It was written on the back of a church bulletin, folded into quarters, sealed with candle wax. The message read, "When the machines begin to dream, the cities start to remember. Marseille remembers too much." That sentence hasn't left my head since. I keep thinking about what I've forgotten. People, places, words. I tried writing my mother's name this morning and blanked halfway through. I remember her, her hair, her hands, but I can't write her name. I don't know if that's fatigue or something else. I don't know what we're becoming, but I think it starts with forgetting. It's hot now, too hot to think straight. I'm logging this while I still can. The coastline has gone silent. No ships, no horns, no gulls, no waves. The sea looks flat, unnatural, almost like it's still thinking about rising, but hasn't decided yet. I got a panicked voice message from a man in Salon de Provence. Said he'd been holed up in a basement apartment. He went upstairs for the first time in 4 days to get sunlight and saw his neighbors standing in the courtyard. All of them, naked, silent, their backs to him. Every one of them facing the same direction, southwest, toward Marseille. He went back down and blocked the door. He hasn't heard anything since. He asked if it's safe to sleep. I didn't know what to tell him. I haven't really slept since the second blackout. Just micro rests. 10 minutes maybe. Long enough for the dreams to start. Always the same. Circles, dust, water rising upward. Then the whisper. Last night, it said, "You are the mirror." I woke up with blood in my mouth. We're being rewritten. I don't think this is a war. I think this is a harvest, a sorting, and Marseille was just the first field to ripen. The noise is back now, that soft hum in the floor. It's stronger, faster, almost musical, like a call to prayer made from electricity and heat. I can't stay in this room much longer. If this is the last full signal I get out, here's what matters. If you find still water that moves against the wind, leave it. It's watching. If shadows stretch up walls before the sun does, you're already too close. Keep one photo on your person at all times, something to remind you who you were. If you lose your name, the signal takes faster. Do not, under any circumstances, listen to voices coming from vents, drains, or unplugged speakers. That is not your family. That is not help. That is the shape learning to speak. The next burst will go out at 2 p.m. Marseille time. If I'm not here, check for the backup signal. 89.6 megahertz. Weak band, no words. Just a pulse. 1, 2, 3. Then silence. If it changes, that means I'm not the one sending it anymore. This is Aaron Karteski, 93.4 FM, Marseille. Still holding, still remembering. If the city forgets itself, we don't. Repeat your name every hour. Write it down every morning. Look into the mirror until your reflection blinks second. It's 2:02 p.m. The sun is directly overhead now. I know that, not because of the light. There's barely any clarity through the haze, but because the heat in this room just surged like a wave. Like the building exhaled. Every metal surface is too hot to touch. The mic arm burned the side of my hand. The tile under my feet is warping. I keep hearing little cracks like glass fracturing behind the walls. The broadcast tower is still upright, but it's sagging east. I don't know how much longer it'll hold. The antenna's getting weaker. I can feel it. Static's bleeding into the relay. My voice might not be getting through clearly anymore. If you're only hearing part of this, just know I'm still here. Still sending. I haven't spoken to another human face-to-face in 5 days. Maybe 6. Time is slippery now. The clocks keep falling out of sync with each other. My wristwatch says it's past 2. The wall clock says it's just after noon. My body says it's closer to midnight. Something is off. People from as far north as Lyon are reporting time anomalies now. Days feeling like minutes. Nightfall showing up mid-afternoon. Watches freezing. Phones rebooting with future dates. One woman, Chantal, I think, said her husband's smartwatch started vibrating uncontrollably around 11 a.m. It displayed a single word on screen. Received. Then it died. Permanently. She hasn't seen him since. The air's harder to breathe today. Thick, like breathing through hot cloth. I soaked a pillowcase and tied it around my nose just to keep my lungs from burning. But the heat still gets in. It gets inside you now. You don't sweat anymore. You just dry out. There's a smell in the stairwell now. Not rot, not smoke. Something worse, a kind of electrical decay. The scent of batteries rupturing, plastic melting from the inside. It comes and goes like a warning. When it's strongest, the walls seem to groan. I think it's the building remembering that it used to hold people, and now it doesn't. More people are trying to flee the city. You can hear them at night, packs of them, moving quickly down the boulevards, trying to reach the coastal highways. They don't speak, they just move. Fast, scared, like they know something's chasing them even if they've never seen it. But they're not all the same anymore. There's something happening to the ones who stay too long. A change. Subtle at first. They get quiet, then slow. Then they start standing in corners like they're listening to instructions that no one else can hear. I saw a woman on the rooftop across from me, just standing, arms at her side, in full sunlight, not flinching. Her skin was blistering and she didn't move. Then, after a minute, she turned her head. She looked directly at me, from 50 meters away, and smiled. I ducked. When I looked back up, she was gone. We're not just losing people anymore. We're losing shape. I got a weak transmission earlier from someone calling themselves Luke. Said he was an acoustics engineer at the university. He's been recording the subharmonics in the soil. Said they form a repeating pulse, 6 seconds on, 12 seconds off. He played me a sample over the line. It didn't sound like much, just bass and hiss. But when I played it back through the station's analog speaker system, it made the walls shudder. The frequency hit something in the structure of the building, not vibration. Something deeper. Luke said the same pulse patterns have been detected under Montpellier, Nimes, Aix, and Marseille. He called it continental heartbeat. He says the Earth is echoing something that didn't come from here. Then the line dropped. No one's reached him since. I've started hearing tapping at night. Not footsteps, not people, just tapping. From behind walls that aren't connected to anything. Interior support beams, load-bearing columns, empty rooms. It taps once, then stops, then taps 3 times, then stops. Last night it tapped 5 times. I haven't told anyone this yet, but I think it's counting something. I think it's waiting for a response. If you hear it, don't answer. Don't tap back. Don't knock. The people in Orange tried that. Now Orange's silent. We got a report from Vitrolles, a teacher named Edouard. He said their small school, about 14 people holed up inside, was overtaken by the hum. Said it started in the ceiling, then spread to the floor, then to the people. They began to repeat things. Not speak, just repeat. One woman said, "The sun is under our skin," 27 times. Then stopped breathing. Another man began writing numbers on the windows, backward, like he wanted the outside to read them. The windows never fogged. They were supposed to. Edouard fled. He's hiding in a municipal pump station now. He said the only reason the hum hasn't followed him is because he's underground, surrounded by running water. He says the hum can't echo through moving currents. He might be right. Water filtration plants across the south have reported mechanical failure, but only in pipes that aren't moving. Flow seems to disrupt it. Stillness invites it. That might be our weakness. Keep your water moving. Keep your electricity dirty, analog, chaotic, loud. Anything that creates resistance. This thing, it hates noise, not sound. Noise, chaos, unpredictability. There's one more message I need to share. It came from a man calling from inside a cooling tower outside Istres. He wouldn't give his name, just said he worked logistics for a private energy contractor. He told me, they knew this was coming. Said the energy spikes that led to the brownouts weren't from usage, they were from below. Something old, something beneath the grids that fed off the lines. Something that was using our own systems to teach itself how we work. He says the drills they ran in spring weren't for terrorism. They were for inversion events. He says we're past inversion now. He called it assimilation. Before the line cut, he said, "You'll know it's starting when the mirrors go blank." Then he screamed, "I haven't replayed that message. I can't. If you've still got power, keep your mirrors covered. If you've still got water, keep it running. If you've still got memory, hold on to it. If this is what it feels like to end, then we'll do it on our own terms." This is Aaron Karteski. 93.4 FM. Still alive. Still aware. Still human. I'll keep the signal alive as long as I can. Just remember your name. Say it out loud. Say it into the dark. Even if no one answers. Especially then. It's 4:15 p.m. The sun hasn't moved. Or maybe it just feels that way. The sky is flat. No clouds, no blue. Just that pale orange-white like the top of an overcooked egg. You can't stare at it, but you also can't not notice it, like it's watching everything at once. The light outside has a thickness to it. It doesn't bounce. It clings. Everything looks like it's been coated in dust. But when you touch it, it's smooth. Too smooth. Like the surface of a photograph that hasn't developed properly. I don't know how much longer this signal will hold. The tower's relay board is glitching, old solder points swelling in the heat. The fans are gone. The air in the studio is dead. No movement. I've started keeping my lips wet with vinegar just to keep the heat from cracking them open. I've been logging signal inconsistencies now. There's a pulse every hour on the dot, on the 47th second. It comes in on dead channels, ones that shouldn't be transmitting anything. I've recorded it 3 times now. It's the same waveform each time. It looks like a voice, but I can't isolate the words. They're buried under distortion. Whatever it is, it's not random. It's scheduled, coordinated. I think someone, or something, is broadcasting back. I don't think we're alone on these frequencies anymore. Survivor reports are still coming in. Thinner now, but more desperate. A woman from Aix-en-Provence, Amira, says her local pharmacy was burned to the ground overnight. Not looted, not broken into, burned, floor scorched, roof intact. Nothing else touched on the block. The air inside the ruins was cold, cold enough that her breath fogged. She said she heard music before it happened, not out loud, inside her teeth, like someone playing a piano inside her molars. Minor chords, unfinished phrases. Every time she moved toward the sound, it stopped. She says the fire didn't behave like normal fire. It crept sideways, not up, ate all the labels off the bottles, left the pills untouched. She doesn't think it was meant to destroy anything. She thinks it was cleaning. Another report, this one from a man in a small vineyard commune north of Avignon. Name was Jules. He says they've started seeing something strange in the vines. The plants are still growing, faster in fact, but they've started twisting in 3s, triple spirals, not random, not weather damage, like something's guiding them. He says one of his neighbors followed the spirals out past the edge of the field and never came back. That night, the grape skins peeled themselves off. He didn't explain how he knew that. I didn't ask. I've been trying to catalog what we know so far, but it's like chasing smoke. Things that seemed stable yesterday are gone today. Language is slipping. Time is bending. The sky stays the same while the shadows drift like they're waiting for permission to move. If you're listening from outside the southern zone, here's what I can give you. Write this down if you can. These are the patterns. Subharmonic pulses under major urban zones. Shifting thermal signatures with no heat source. Symbol recurrence. 3 concentric circles in triangular orientation. Biological changes. Loss of appetite. Altered perception of time. Behavior flattening. Environmental anomalies. Stationary sun. Collapsed shadows. Water surface inversion. Electrical infection. Digital devices outputting unrequested data or mimicking user speech. If more than 2 of these are happening in your area, you're inside the perimeter now. I'm sorry. No one's coming to help. The Foreign Legion has fallen silent. The drone overhead routes from Istres stopped pinging 6 hours ago. The last known safe zone near Orange hasn't broadcast since last night. Its last message was just 4 words. Do not come south. No maps, no coordination, just warning. But people are still trying. I've gotten 24 shortwave fragments from desperate survivors heading toward Marseille. They think there's refuge here, that there's order. They don't know this city has already changed. Not destroyed, changed. The bodies don't rot anymore. I didn't want to talk about this. But you deserve to know. I've seen them. The ones who fall in the heat or collapse under the hum. They don't decay. They dry, fast, no smell, no color change, just loss of weight, like the moisture is being pulled inward, not out. And if you move them, if you disturb that, rest, you hear it. The whisper, the 3-tap. You can hear it through their skin. Someone, no, something, is still inside. There was a man across the alley, lived on the 3rd floor. Quiet. I never saw him leave his apartment once this all started. Last night, I watched his window light up for the first time in days. Just a soft glow, pale blue, no flame, no bulb, just light. Then the window opened. He stepped out, not onto the balcony, into the air. And he didn't fall. He hovered there for just a second, and then dropped. No scream, no flailing, just impact. I went out 2 hours later. There was nothing left but his shoes, still upright. I don't have a theory for that, just documentation. And I think that's all I can do now. I can't fight this thing, can't define it. But I can name the moments, name the signs, and maybe, just maybe, someone listening will figure out how to stop it. Here's what's working. Radio frequencies above 90 megahertz seem less corrupted. White noise machines confuse the hum. Physical contact with flowing water temporarily reduces hallucinations. Old world tech, vinyl, crank radios, magnetic tape, seems immune to contamination. Symbols drawn in salt stay visible longer than ink or paint. Mirrors, when covered in ash, don't fog or react. I don't know why these things help, but they do. Even if just for a little while. I have to shut down the main relay for maintenance. The console's running too hot. I can hear it hissing under the board. I'll come back on at dusk. Until then, stay in motion, not far. Just move. Every 20 minutes. The ones who sit still too long. Stop being themselves. I've seen it happen. Their eyes stay human, but their voice changes. It stops needing air. It just vibrates. Like a chord played on an instrument that doesn't belong here. This is Aaron Karteski, 93.4 FM. The tower still holds. The heat hasn't taken me yet. Say your name, out loud. Now, say it again. You're still here. It's 6:01 p.m. The air's changing again. I stepped outside a few minutes ago to adjust the relay antenna, just a few meters, barely past the doorway, and I swear the heat didn't feel like heat anymore. It felt wet, not humid, not like summer air off the coast. More like something breathed directly onto your neck and then backed away. The sun's still hanging in the same spot, but it's dimmed somehow. Not like it's setting. More like something's in front of it now. A layer of haze that isn't atmospheric. It doesn't diffuse the light. It blunts it. It makes everything look bruised. Pale gray edges around every surface. Even the shadows seem unsure of themselves now. And the silence is worse than it's ever been. It's alert. Like the city is listening to itself. Earlier, I swear I heard children playing in the courtyard below. Laughter. That quick, high-pitched kind that only kids make when they're chasing each other. But when I looked down, there was nothing. Just cracked pavement. A single red ball sitting at the base of the staircase. Still rolling. The signal's holding for now. I've diverted power from the cooling fans to the main repeater. It's making the room unbearable, but at least you can hear me. If you're still out there, if you're still you. I've gotten 2 more fragmented calls from the north. One from a man just outside Avignon, holed up in an old greenhouse. He says the plants have started growing backwards, leaves unfurling into buds, buds curling back into seeds. No insects, no birds, no rot, just reversal. He doesn't know if it's contamination or something else, but he said the earth under his fingernails felt too smooth, like it wasn't soil anymore, just memory. The second call came from a woman named Clarice near Saint-Rémy-de-Provence. She said she watched her neighbor walk into his own pond this morning and just keep walking. The water never rippled. He sank like paper. No splash, no bubbles, just folded under. When she went to the edge, she saw her own reflection staring back with a different expression, smiling. She didn't drink anything after that. I told her to boil everything, to stay away from standing water, especially if it's calm when there's wind. She asked me if she should trust mirrors. I said no. I've started covering all reflective surfaces here in the studio. Not just the mirrors, the metal trays, the side of the microwave, the blank TV screen. I caught a glimpse of my reflection last night and it blinked too early. My eyes are bloodshot now. My voice is cracking. My mouth tastes like heat. But I'll keep going as long as there's power and as long as my lungs hold up. We got an intercepted message about an hour ago, a relay from Montpellier. Fragmented, like it passed through a broken translator. I pieced together what I could. It said, "Horizon breached, coastal line inconsistent, reflections moving against subject intent. Frequency loop detected in upper sky band, local memory loss confirmed." That's not a military dispatch. That's a diagnostic. Someone or something is measuring us, tracking how long we take to break. The river routes are no longer safe. I repeat, do not attempt evacuation by water. Multiple reports of people entering boats and vanishing before reaching open water. Not capsizing, not attacked, just missing. One raft was found with a journal still open. The last entry read, "They don't need waves, they only need silence." The handwriting was tight, repetitive. The final line was written 27 times. "Stillness invites the shape." I don't know what the shape is, but I've seen it. Not with my eyes, not directly, but in the corners. In the ways shadows bend where they shouldn't. In the pressure that builds in your ears when the hum gets close. It's not an object. It's not a creature. It's a decision. A kind of agreement the world made while we weren't paying attention. And now it's collecting signatures. There was a man on the roof of the old courthouse this morning, shirtless, writing something across the tiles in what looked like ash. The letters formed a spiral. He never looked up. Then, just before noon, he stepped to the edge. He didn't fall. He crumbled, like old paper. The wind didn't carry anything away. I checked. Nothing left but dust pressed into the shape of a footprint. I'm keeping my voice moving now. I've stopped pausing between thoughts. Every time I go quiet, the walls get closer. It sounds insane, I know. But I swear they inch forward. Not enough to see, just enough to feel. So I'm going to keep speaking. Even if it's nonsense. Even if I'm just reciting things to myself. I remember the sound of my father's coffee cup scraping against the kitchen counter. The way my sister's shoes squeaked when she ran through the hall with socks on. I remember the name of the first radio host I ever listened to, Gabriel Lemoyne, AM 114.9, gravel in his throat. Loved jazz he couldn't play. These things matter, because if we lose the texture of who we were, we're easier to replace. Don't let it replace you. Say your name. Touch something real. Wood, glass, dirt. Don't let screens be your last anchor. Someone from Carpentras sent me a page torn from a school book. No envelope. Just a note that read, "There's a frequency under human speech. It mimics breath. That's how it gets in." I don't know if it's true, but I've started breathing through cloth again, just in case. The static's getting worse now. I've pushed the relay past what it can handle. The wires are hot. The copper's whining. I'll try to broadcast again at 8 p.m. if I can get the secondary board online. Until then, stay moving. Keep your water flowing. Don't trust recorded voices. Don't look in mirrors after sundown. And if you hear your name spoken by something that shouldn't know it, run. Don't listen. Don't argue. Just run. This is Aaron Karteski, 93.4 FM, voice holding. System degrading. Hope. Flickering. Say your name before sleep. Say it again when you wake. It's what keeps you here. It's 7:58 p.m. I've just rerouted the transmission line through a cracked inverter from an old elevator panel. It's working, for now. If you're hearing this, it means I've managed to push signal through a loop of rusted copper, a snapped belt, and a metal box meant to carry people up and down a building that doesn't stand anymore. I'm not a radio host anymore. I'm a wire, carrying sound, carrying proof. The sun never set. That's not metaphor. That's a statement of fact. It should be dark by now, but it's not. The sky is still that dull, low, white-orange. The shadows are gone. The windows no longer reflect. I took a spoon out earlier and held it in front of the window. No reflection. Just light bleeding off the edges. The spoon got warm, then hot, then soft. I dropped it before it melted in my hand. Something in this city has shifted. We're not tracking time anymore. We're drifting through it. My internal clock is useless. My hunger comes and goes at random. I don't know if I've slept for 10 minutes or 10 hours. All I know is the walls are still here. The mic is still picking up sound. The red light is still on. And you're still hearing me. You have to be. I got a pulse just before 7 o'clock. A clean one. From somewhere in the mountains. 5 short bursts, then 2 long. That's the code for coordinated resistance. I haven't heard that sequence since the second wave of blackouts. It means someone's still organized. It means someone is still trying. No voice yet. No follow-up. But I've moved the scanner to that channel and will keep it running on low cycle. If they send again, I'll catch it. I don't have good news, but I have movement. Sometimes that's enough. The ground vibrated earlier. Just a little, just for a second. But the windows didn't rattle. The furniture didn't shake. It was inside me. A deep, low throb in the center of my chest, like being struck by a slow heartbeat. Right after, every light in the building flashed twice. Then off. Then back on. Then the wall clock jumped 2 minutes ahead. When I looked down, the floor tiles were wet. No water source. Just wet. A film. No smell. But when I touched it, I heard a sound. Not with my ears. Not with the radio. Inside my teeth. Like tuning forks inside my jaw. I'm documenting it here because that's what's left. That's what I can still do. I can speak what I see and pray that someone out there is hearing it. A call came through at 6:42 p.m. A woman, breathless, frantic. She didn't say her name. She said she was in an abandoned church south of the city. St. Anne, maybe. Said there were 15 people at first, now only 6. The others left after the walls started humming. She said the stained glass windows began glowing at night, not reflecting light, emitting it. She said the colors changed in sequence, not random. Blue, red, black, white. Always that order. Each time someone vanished. No scream, no motion. Just not there. She begged me to tell her what it meant. I didn't know what to say. She whispered, "They're not taking us. They're unmaking us." Then she hung up. I've tried calling back, but the line's been dead. The hum is coming again. Not in the building, in the air. It's higher now, like a frequency only the city can hear. You can see it if you watch carefully. Things vibrating just slightly off their edges. Outlines drifting. Colors that don't hold. The concrete outside has begun to ripple when I stare at it too long. I looked at my hand earlier. Not the palm. The back. The veins have changed direction. I don't know what that means. I just know they're no longer in the same place they were this morning. The batteries are holding, for now. The diesel is gone. I burned the last liter half an hour ago. Now I'm running on scavenged solar from the rooftop panels, filtered through cracked glass and hope. It won't last, but I will. Until the mic dies, I will. I have one last update for this cycle. A child's voice came through the repeater on 91.3. It was broken, staticky, but I heard it clearly enough to make out the words. She said, "The trees are walking now." Then silence. No ID, no signature, no follow-up. Just that. If you're anywhere near the southern tree line, stay away. The air carries things now, not just sound, memory, breath, weight. It holds them like lungs. And every time you inhale, it learns a little more. This is Aaron Karteski, 93.4 FM, the last voice on the band. Still transmitting, still refusing. Say your name. Say it twice. Say it like it matters. Because it does. It's 10:22 p.m. Still no darkness, still no stars. Just that same dull orange light soaking through everything like a fever that never breaks. The relay coils overheating again. I've submerged half the transmitter in a cracked basin full of salt water and foil, just to keep the core from warping. I don't even know if it helps, but the buzzing's less violent now. The feedback hum isn't as sharp. The city hasn't made a sound in hours. Not the humming. Not the whispers. Not even the wind. It's worse than silence. It's emptiness. Like the air has forgotten how to carry sound. Even when I stomped on the metal stairwell just now, there was no echo. My foot landed, and nothing came back. Like I never touched the ground at all. My voice is starting to thin out. Not hoarse exactly, just hollow. Like I'm speaking with less of me in it. I don't know how else to explain it. My hands don't look right anymore. The skin's dry, but not cracked. Just smooth. Too smooth. No lines. No creases. Like I'm being polished from the outside in. I haven't cut myself, but I don't think I'd bleed if I did. Got another weak relay from the mountains. Same code. 5 short, 2 long. Still no words, no voice. But I swear the rhythm has changed. Like it's not just a beacon anymore. It's a conversation. Between what and what, I don't know. I've started logging the pulses, plotting them. They're forming a pattern across the southern band. If I overlay the time intervals, it traces a slow spiral out from Marseille. It's spreading. And it's counting. Someone called just after 9 o'clock. An old man, Claude, from outside Istres. He used to work as a cartographer. He's retired now, but he never stopped mapping things. He told me he's been tracking the changes by hand. Temperature shifts, light patterns, shadow movement. He said something's wrong with the land itself. Elevation points no longer match GPS. Hills are shifting. Roads that used to lead out now loop back. He walked for 4 hours today, trying to reach the next commune. Ended up right back at his own front door. He drew a map of his route. It formed a spiral. Same as the broadcast pattern. Same as the vines, the pulse, the whispers. Same as the symbol burned into the radio tower's copper plate yesterday morning. I didn't put it there. He says he's staying put now. Says he doesn't trust the earth under his feet anymore. He asked me to tell his daughter, Elise, in Bordeaux, that he still remembers her birthday, that it was raining, that she wore green shoes and refused to blow out the candles until the dog barked. That's what we are now, recorders of memory. It might be the only thing this thing can't take. The signal is starting to fracture. I don't mean audio degradation. I mean reality. The floor just bent, slightly, like someone pressed a giant thumb into the ceiling and the room shifted. Not enough to knock anything over, just enough to let me know that something's pressing down. The lights flickered with it. I think it's pressure. I think we're inside something. Something closing. I went back to the window around 9:30. There was a woman walking down the street, barefoot, carrying an old television set. One of those bulky gray ones, like from the 90s. She wasn't watching it. She was just carrying it. The screen was off, but I swear I saw my own face flicker on it as she passed. Just for a second. Smiling, then gone. She turned the corner, and I didn't follow. If she's still walking, if you see her, don't touch the TV. Don't even look at it too long. I think it records you back. I'm getting tired. Not sleepy. Worn. Like part of me is being used up just by talking. But I'll keep going. Because if I stop, I'm afraid I'll disappear mid-sentence. I'd rather burn the last of myself into this signal than fade without a trace. To anyone who still has a way out, northbound roads are compromised. The terrain is folding, but eastward, toward Gap, some people are reporting time-stable pockets. Villages untouched, at least for now. I don't know why, but if you're close, go. Go now. Take only what doesn't reflect. Leave anything that speaks when it shouldn't. Avoid the trees. Stay in groups of uneven numbers. And if someone in your group starts humming and their mouth doesn't move, leave them. I'm sorry, but you have to. This is Aaron Karteski. 93.4 FM. I can still see my shadow. It's short, twisted, faint, but it's mine. Say your name. Say it into the dark. And if the dark says it back, don't answer. It's 12:03 a.m. I've lost track of what day it is. I tried scratching the days into the console with the tip of a broken pen, but the plastic has started to soften, like the heat is slowly melting time into the surface. The marks fade the longer I look at them, like memory itself is being pulled back, erased from the physical world, as if even the objects around me are starting to forget. The calendar on the wall still says June, but I'm not sure that means anything anymore. Nothing has moved, yet everything has changed. The sun should have set hours ago, but it remains in that same disfigured place in the sky, dull, swollen, motionless, pressing its weight down on everything like an eye that refuses to blink. I tried sleeping for a few minutes, not because I was tired, but because I wanted to see if my mind still knew how. But even in sleep, there is no darkness, just light, flat and sour, and that unbearable feeling that someone is waiting for you to open your eyes. When I did, I was alone, of course. The station walls were still there. The lights were flickering from the old relay coil, and the hum had quieted. But something else had shifted. The room smelled different. Not rot, not smoke, just sterile, like hospital bed sheets soaked in sunlight. I think whatever's outside is learning how to come in without moving. I looked in the mirror again. I shouldn't have. I know I shouldn't have. But I needed to know if I was still me. My face looked back. It did. The same face I've seen every day since this began. But the eyes weren't right. They were too patient, like they were waiting for the rest of me to catch up. I raised my hand, and the reflection followed, but a half second too late. I didn't blink. The reflection did, and then it smiled. I dropped the mirror. Didn't shatter. It just folded, bent in half like it was made of soft foil. I shoved it into the corner and covered it with a jacket. I haven't gone near it since. I know I'm not alone. I don't mean in this building, though I sometimes hear something moving in the lower floors, something too slow to be wind and too rhythmic to be settling concrete. But I mean out there, across this fractured coastline and the red stone and the water that doesn't shimmer anymore. I can feel others, scattered, scared, refusing to disappear. I heard them tonight, on the long wave band, faint but human. Someone reciting a prayer in Occitan, someone crying in broken Russian, a child singing, off-key, in what I think was a lullaby. No names, no explanations, just sound. Beautiful, stupid, stubborn sound. That means something. That has to mean something. The rooftop is unusable now. The heat has warped the panel frames, and the metal is too soft to support weight. When I opened the access hatch an hour ago, the handle melted in my grip. I'm keeping the studio running off a single cracked battery bank and what little charge remains from the inverter. I know this won't last, but it's still more power than most people have. I owe them this voice, even if it's just noise to the sky. I keep thinking about a voicemail I got 3 days ago. Before the tower started falling, it was my brother, Mark. He'd been in Paris when the heat wave first hit. Said it wasn't natural. That the temperature readings didn't match the equipment failures. Said the air over the Seine shimmered in reverse, like the heat was moving toward the river instead of away from it. He said the bridges had gone silent, not empty. Silent. No echo from footsteps. No sound from cars. He said people were standing in doorways at night and just watching the sky. Not talking. Not blinking. Just waiting. He told me not to come home. He said something was wrong with the city's reflection. That's the last time I heard his voice. The southern sector is gone. I don't know how else to say it. It didn't burn. It didn't collapse. It just stopped answering. No broadcasts from La Ciotat. No chatter from Cassis. No naval signal from the Toulon base. Even the automatic weather station at Cap Croisette stopped transmitting this afternoon. Last reading it gave was 51 degrees Celsius, 124 Fahrenheit. Then it flatlined. I think the sea is boiling. There's a sound coming from the harbor. Not the sirens, not the wind. A low, deep, shaking note, like the city itself is humming in its sleep. The concrete's begun to pulse with it. At first, I thought it was an echo from the signal repeater, but even with the equipment off, the vibration continues. My own heartbeat is starting to sync with it. Every now and then, I catch myself breathing in time with the thrum. That scares me more than anything. I'm still me. I have to be. But something wants me to forget. Wants all of us to forget. The longer we forget, the less we resist. A woman named Leah called in just before I went live. She was in Salon de Provence, hiding in an old bakery basement. Said the ovens hadn't worked in weeks, but the smell of fresh bread had started returning at night. Not real bread, just memory. She said people walking by outside would stop and inhale, deep, slow, like the scent was more real than anything they could touch. Then they'd start to hum, not out loud, just under their breath. A song they didn't know they knew. She said her brother followed the smell one night. Said he walked into the street barefoot, eyes closed, humming. She tried to stop him. He whispered something before he stepped into the light. He said, "I remember now. We were always part of it." Then he was gone. Leah hasn't slept since. Neither have I. I don't know how many of you are still listening. The signal's barely strong enough to reach the next arrondissement. But I keep picturing someone, somewhere, with a hand-cranked receiver or an old pickup with the radio still wired into the dash, just sitting there in the dark, listening, breathing, remembering. If that's you, don't turn it off. Not yet. Because this voice, these words, this is what's real. Not the heat, not the hum, not the light that never dims. This. Say your name again. Write it down. Scrape it into stone. Carve it into wood. Remind the world that you were here. That you mattered. That your shape was once your own. This is Aaron Karteski. 93.4 FM, still signal, still shadow, still human. I will not go silent, not until this city forgets how to burn. It's 2:37 a.m. If you can still tell what time it is, you're already ahead of me. The clocks in here have all stopped, not at the same time, but close enough that I'm starting to suspect it wasn't power loss. It was decision. One froze at 1:08, another at 1:11, and the last one, this old manual wall piece I wound up just 2 days ago, froze at exactly 1:013. Not when it ran out, not gradually. I heard it click once, then silence. No resistance in the gears. Like it decided that whatever comes next doesn't need counting. The light hasn't changed. That same blinding, hollow sun still hangs outside, frozen in the upper left corner of the sky like it was pasted there by mistake. But tonight, it's dimmer, not in color, but in meaning. It doesn't give off warmth anymore. It's just there. Like a dead bulb someone forgot to unscrew. The kind of thing you notice in passing and then spend the next hour wondering why you feel sick. My skin hasn't burned, but it's dry to the point of splitting. There are no blisters, but I can feel something under the surface. as if my nerves are being gently rewired. I touched my own arm with a wet cloth, and it felt like I was touching something else entirely. Something fake. Like rubber left out in the cold too long. I haven't eaten since yesterday, or the day before that. I'm not even sure anymore. I tried chewing some crackers earlier, but they tasted like ash. Not stale, not spoiled, just burned. Like the idea of food has stopped functioning. Like taste itself is giving up. I'm drinking water for now, but even that's starting to feel uncertain. The bottle I keep by my cot has begun to fog from the inside, even when sealed. I haven't opened it. I keep waiting to see if it clears up on its own, but the fog is always there in the morning, thicker each time. Tonight I stood in the hallway for 20 minutes, listening. No sound, of course. No movement. Just that deep, paralyzing silence that feels like it's observing you. I used to love quiet, back when silence was a luxury. But this is something else. This is silence that remembers, that waits, that holds your breath in place until you forget what it felt like to let go. When I stepped back into the control room, the lights were already on. I didn't flip them. And the chair I sit in was warm. I don't know who or what sat there before me, but I didn't touch it for a while. I just stood in the doorway, staring, convincing myself I was mistaken. But I wasn't. Something had used this space. Something had occupied it, and then left. Or maybe not. The radio's been making new sounds. Not music, not voices, but small clicks, irregular and sharp, like the kind of thing you'd hear if a piece of metal was being bent slowly and held just before it snapped. These clicks don't repeat. They don't follow any pattern I recognize. But when I charted the timing, each one coincided with the same moment the sun would have moved, if it were still real. And when I filtered the clicks through the EQ board, just for curiosity, I found a resonance. A word. Whispered in the noise. It said, again. I replayed it 12 times. Same word. Same tone. Same soft, insectile edge. Like a moth trapped in glass. Again. 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 I think it's asking us to repeat. Not resist. Repeat. A man from La Phare-les-Oliviers sent in a shortwave message before his signal dropped. He said they'd found a row of houses, 7 in total, where the clocks all ticked backward. The ovens turned cold when powered. The television screens displayed static from tomorrow's weather reports. He said his wife walked into the guest room and came out holding a photo album they'd never owned. It was filled with pictures of their family, except they weren't in any of them. He burned it, said the fire didn't make a sound. They left the house and it was gone in the morning. Not burned, not buried, just missing, like it had never existed. He ended the message by whispering, "We built too far into the memory of the land." I don't know what that means, but I've written it down, carefully, in pen, on paper, in 3 separate notebooks, just in case the words start changing behind my back. There's something forming above the city now. I can't see it, but I feel it. The pressure is different, like walking under scaffolding made of whispers. The kind of weight that makes your ears ache and your thoughts lose traction. The pigeons are gone, not dead, just absent. The rooftops used to carry their sound like a nervous heartbeat. Now even that has stopped. I saw a flock of something earlier, but they weren't birds. They moved too straight, too silent, like shadows trying to remember how to fly. I've lost contact with the gap resistance node. It was faint to begin with, just a string of pulses on an analog band nobody's used since the 60s. But it was there. Proof that something beyond this zone was still trying, still breathing. It's gone now. The last pulse was an error code. 3 short, 1 long. I don't know what it means, but I wrote it down anyway. In the corner of the studio, one of the power meters is ticking up slowly, even though it's not connected to anything. I've unplugged it, reattached it, rebooted the breakers. Still ticks. A soft, high-pitched note plays every time the red hand moves, like a child's toy running out of battery. I'm afraid to take it apart, because I don't think it's measuring electricity anymore. I think it's measuring me, how long I stay human, how long I keep speaking, how long before I begin to forget what my own name sounds like in someone else's voice. If you're listening and your hands are still your own, write it down. Your name, your face, a story only you remember. It doesn't matter how small. Write it. Burn it into paper. Into stone. Tattoo it to the wall if you have to. Because that's what they want. Not death. Not surrender. They want forgetting. They want silence, smooth and absolute, where nothing leaves a mark. I will not go silent. I will not become smooth. I will not be forgotten. This is Aaron Karteski. 93.4 FM, still standing, still transmitting, still human. Say your name. Say it out loud. If the walls say it back, don't answer. It's 4:09 a.m. There's no more night. The word itself feels outdated. I remember what it used to mean. The calm, the coolness, the stars you could squint at and name, the air thinning out just enough to remind you that day didn't own the world. But now the sky's just stuck. That burnt orange smear has flattened into something worse. A smooth, motionless sheet, like the ceiling of a room we were never supposed to look up at. There are no stars, no clouds, no movement, just light that doesn't shine, heat that doesn't warm, and shadows that grow even when nothing moves. I haven't seen another living thing in almost a full day. No birds, no stray cats, not even insects. There used to be flies near the broken windows on the 3rd floor, drawn to the warmth maybe, or to whatever was rotting in the walls. But even they're gone. The building's too still, too careful. I can feel it watching me when I breathe too loud. The chair across from me has started to sink into the floor. I'm not hallucinating. The legs are folding, bending downward into the tile like the cement forgot it was solid. I marked it with chalk last night. This morning, the legs were 3 centimeters lower. The base is discolored now, like it's being absorbed. I don't know what's under this station anymore. I don't think it's ground. Something passed by the window at 3:30. I didn't see it directly, just the reflection, slightly delayed, moving across the glass of the turned-off monitor. It was tall, not human-shaped, not animal-shaped either, just wrong. The outline dragged behind it like wet cloth. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I waited until the room stopped vibrating before I stood up again. And when I looked out the actual window, there were footprints on the ledge. Bare, elongated, facing inward. It didn't leave. It entered. I've shut and locked every door I can. Not that I believe locks matter anymore. If it wants in, it gets in. But the motion, the ritual, the illusion of control, It keeps the terror from turning into paralysis. I've rerouted the broadcast tower again. The rooftop equipment's gone, warped beyond use, melted into itself like a discarded candle. I'm now running the signal through the old backup array from the basement, cobbled together with copper filament, plastic tubing, and a satellite dish that used to pick up television. I call it the Spider. It hums when the signal's clean. Sings, almost. And right now, it's singing loud. I think someone's still listening. Maybe not nearby. Maybe not even in France. But somewhere, someone is holding a dial in their hand, tuning through static, catching half a word, half a breath, and stopping to hear the rest. I need that to be true. Because if I'm just talking to concrete, I don't know how much longer I can keep forming sentences. Something is building out there. I don't mean the military. They're gone. I haven't picked up coded chatter in over 36 hours. The last NATO relay flickered out yesterday evening with a corrupted identifier. Not even a voice. Just a pulse that kept rising until the feedback began to eat itself. I don't mean people either. What's building is quieter, slower, like sediment collecting in a lake. There are shapes appearing on surfaces now, not stains, not shadows, patterns, spirals, mostly. Some are burnt into glass, others are drawn in condensation. One appeared on the side of my coffee mug, etched in black, no tool marks, no paint. I scrubbed it off with bleach. It came back. And then the cup disappeared. Not shattered. Not misplaced. Just gone. I turned back to the desk, reached for it, and it wasn't there. And when I checked the drawer, where I always keep a spare, that one was gone too. Only the spiral remained, on the inside of the drawer. I touched it. I shouldn't have. Everything went quiet. Not the room. Me. I couldn't hear my own breath for 12 full seconds. When the sound returned, something in the frequency was different. Like there was another signal, barely audible, layered under mine. A voice, not mine, saying my name. Software gentle, persuasive. I cut the circuit, hard, flipped every breaker, disconnected every line. For 15 minutes I sat in total darkness. No sound, no signal, no power. And in that silence, I heard it again. This time from inside the walls, whispering. 3 words, "Come remember me." I don't know who said it, or what, but it knew my name, and it used my voice. There was a time I believed this was just collapse, just heat and war and human panic, that we were breaking ourselves. I don't believe that anymore. Something is rewriting us, not through violence, through familiarity. It mimics, it reflects, it learns. And once it knows your rhythm, your thoughts, your shape, your sound, it starts to overwrite you with your own echo. You don't vanish. You're replaced. Perfectly. Quietly. I've seen it. People in the streets who move just a little too smooth. Who breathe in sync. Who smile without blinking. Who stand in mirrors without waiting for a reflection. The ones who are gone don't scream, they don't run, they don't bleed, they agree. And then they're not yours anymore. I found a radio today. Not mine, not part of this station. Old model, battery powered. It was sitting on the rooftop landing like someone had just left it there. Tuned to 93.4, my frequency. But it was playing something else. A different broadcast, my voice. But not this message. A recording I never made. I heard myself laughing, software warm, saying, "It's okay now. You can come outside." I never said that, not once. I smashed it with a crowbar, but I worry it's still transmitting. Somewhere. To someone who wants to believe it's real. Please, if you hear that version of me, ignore it. Don't trust recordings. Don't follow voices that feel too easy. The real ones are messy, stuttering, breathless, full of fear and anger and confusion. Like me. I don't know how much longer I'll be able to keep transmitting. The wires are pulling loose, the static's creeping in. But I'm still here. Still fighting. Still me. This is Aaron Karteski, 93.4 FM. The sun is stuck. But I'm not. Say your name. And if something says it back, tell it you've already been counted. It's 6:11 a.m. There's no sunrise. Just that same diseased sky hanging over the ruins like skin stretched too tight over something that's already dead. But the air has changed. It's heavier now. Less like atmosphere. More like wet cloth draped over your shoulders and pushed into your lungs when you try to breathe too deep. The heat hasn't lessened. If anything, it's sharper. Like a knife just barely pressed against the skin. Not enough to cut. Just enough to remind you you're still real, still here, still capable of pain. The temperature inside the station is holding at 45 degrees Celsius. That's with all windows sealed and every fan running on their last breath. I've wrapped the transmitter hub in insulation, old mattress foam and strips of torn drywall to keep it from warping any further. The copper veins are bubbling beneath the insulation, swelling slightly each hour like a fever under metal skin. If I touch the housing, it trembles. Not a vibration, a pulse, almost like it's breathing on its own now. I haven't slept, not because of the heat, not even because of fear, just noise, not from the equipment, from the air itself. I lay down and I hear it, soft, recursive voices, too many to count, whispering things I can almost, but not quite, understand. The longer I listen, the more I start to believe they're speaking me. Not to me, not about me. Me. As if the air's trying to remember how I sound before it replaces me with something that echoes better. My hands are shaking more today. I used to think it was fatigue or low blood sugar, but now I think it's proximity. The closer I sit to the transmitter coil, the worse it gets. Like something in the signal is tuned to undo us. Atom by atom, thought by thought. Still, I'm staying close. Because even if the coil's eating pieces of me, it's also reaching them. Whoever's still out there, whoever hasn't turned or disappeared or given up, you're still hearing this, somehow. And that's enough. I tried to transmit a wider signal this morning. Used the old band from the emergency weather line. It was meant for short burst warnings, floods, wildfires, cyclones. Now I've reconfigured it to carry short vocal pulses every 10 minutes. Not words. Just breathe. Mine. I hold the mic close and exhale into it. Slow and long. A reminder that someone's still breathing. That the world hasn't flattened completely. And once every hour, I whisper one word. Stay. If you hear it, don't move. Don't answer. Just stay. Because the things that walk now, the ones wearing our faces, speaking our rhythms, humming lullabies we never taught them, they're looking for movement. for response, for consent, and you can't give it, not even by accident. I think that's how they got Jonas. He called in just before 5 a.m., voice tight, whispering through cracked static. Said he'd been moving northeast along the ridgeline near Tretz, staying low and avoiding reflective surfaces. Said he'd heard birds again, real birds, not mimic calls. But then he saw something. He didn't describe it. He didn't need to. I could hear it in his breathing. He said it spoke to him using his mother's voice, called his name, laughed the way she used to when he got the hiccups as a kid. He knew it wasn't her. He knew. But he answered. Not even a word. Just a breath. A small sound in his throat. And that was enough. He said it turned. And then the signal died. Nothing but cold static since. That's all it takes now. A single breath of recognition. One tiny act of memory shared in the wrong direction, and you're gone. Not erased. Just echoed somewhere else. There are still pockets of resistance. I know it. There's no proof, no confirmed coordinates, no functioning two-way systems. But I feel them. Not like hope, not like prayer, like gravity, like a quiet pressure in the east, somewhere in the hills, where the sky still has stars, and people still mark time with their own hands. Maybe it's gap, maybe not, but I've narrowed the signal drag to a 15-minute delay in that direction. Someone's pulsing light from a valley out there. Old LED strips, solar-powered. Not Morse, not any known code. Just rhythmic pulses. A language we've forgotten but the bones still know. I'm trying to reach them. I've built a makeshift transducer from a stripped car speaker and a shattered oscilloscope. Don't ask me how it works, it shouldn't. But when I breathe into it just right, the light pulses pause for exactly 2 seconds. Then continue. It's not a reply. But it's not indifference either. It's recognition. I think that's all I need. I moved the cot deeper into the stairwell, farther from the coil, closer to the stone foundation. The lower floors are cooler, and they don't vibrate as much. But there's something else down there. Something I haven't gone to look at yet. Not because I'm scared, but because it's calling me by name. I've never told it my name, and yet it says it. Not wrong, not twisted. Perfectly. In my father's voice. I haven't gone down there, but I might, eventually. Not because I want to, but because the silence upstairs is getting too perfect. Too smoothed out. The kind of silence that clears space for something else. I have to keep speaking. As long as I'm speaking, there's resistance. There's texture. There's a line. And that line means I'm still me. This is Aaron Karteski, 93.4 FM. If you're hearing this, don't answer the voice that says your name exactly right. Even if it feels like home. Even if it sounds like love. Especially if it says, you're safe now. You're not. Not yet. Not until we're together again. Say your name, then say it out loud wrong. Just once, so they can't trace it back.